what you're first gonna need to do is grab the kit to begin with, so you really wanna get it from here. It's not real, isn't it not? This isn't real. At least I think. It's not really easy to tell, because there's been 7,000 uploads. If you can't find it from here, which will take some time, what you can probably do is go into groups, go into their group, and from there just grab it. This will open a Roblox. And you should see something similar to this if this is the first time you've ever opened Studio, minus all of these, because these blue things are options. But you should see mainly just this. So these are very important. I'd just recommend, sitting here and watching this. Now, everything is going to be pre-set up, but some things aren't going to work. If you try running the experience, what's going to end up happening is you're not going to be able to get past... You're not going to be able to get past about 15%, ever. To fix this, you're going to want to go into Home, up here, and I think it'd be better if I captured my cursor. You're gonna want to go up here to Home, go into Game Settings, save to Roblox, because you need to have it there, so I'm just gonna make sure everything's set up and save it. I have Team Create on. You don't need it on. You probably shouldn't unless you're working like in a collaboration, and if you have a collaboration you should only try to save it to a group. Once you've done this, you're going to go back into Game Settings, and it'll look a lot different. You'll be able to set your game icons, screenshots and videos, playable devices, the genre. Probably want this to be RPG. But pretty much what you're going to want to do is go into security, enable this. This is extremely important. You don't need any of these other things enabled unless you want to be able to be teleported to other games or purchase items provided by somebody else, which I wouldn't do. It's your game. But I mean, depends. After this, you should be able to load in. And what's going to happen is you'll load in. And there you go. As you see, there is no swing animation set. You're not going to be able to swing anything. It's going to be stuck not letting you swing. This happens, to be honest. To fix it, what you're going to need to do is give yourself one. And this is the first time you're going to be going into the files. So in Explorer, there should be a lighting. It has a light bulb, so obviously. And here's where you're going to find things that, A, you don't want to change any of this, because you don't know how this stuff works. Minus this, we'll get to this eventually. but you're going to want to go into lighting and go to weapons and open up weapons, and this is where weapon files are and are created. You're going to want to open stick, and this is where you can change your stuff. So description, and to change this stuff, you're going to want to open view up here and then open properties. And wherever you can drag this wherever you want. We'll put it here for the simplicity of it. The values, what changes the description. So if I want the stick description to be, I don't know, that should change it. On sale means if the weapon is on sale or not. So if we want to be able to buy the stick again, we put it on sale. Permanent means permanency after reset. If you know what utmm is, you would know what a reset is. A true permanent is permanency after a true reset. This is now different, so if it isn't a permanent, if it isn't a true permanent, it will get erased even if it is a permanent on a true reset. Shop is the value of the shop. This is the shop. Say we want to set this, the stick, to be in this shop. This name is really important. So a good way to remember it is by naming them something. So, for example, if this was a real game, I would call this the Runes shop or whatever it is, to then remember pretty much what shop I'm putting stuff in. So if I wanted that to be there, I'd have to go into the shop and then change the value in the shop value to example shop or whatever it's named. I renamed it Runes shop, my bad. Next, true permanent, we've already went over. Weapon name, this changes the name of the weapon. Never change this file name. Don't do this unless you are not using it, because it will break your game, and the only way to fix it would be to rename this the same name again, or change the weapon you're wearing to something else, which I'm not going to get into. Oh, and I never went over cost. Cost is the amount of cost in the shop. So this is the attack tool. This is the texture ID. It's the icon. So if I wanted to make this some random picture, I would have to upload this image, or I could go into home, toolbox, and it should pop this open. Normally it'd be much bigger, but when you're in here, you can go into images and you can just grab any one of these by right-clicking and clicking copy asset ID and then pasting it in here. I'm not going to do that because I want to make my own images. Next, you're going to go into attack tool, and this is where the main information about the weapon is. So damage is obviously the damage it does. Damage increase is a weird, like, damage boost when equipped thing. I wouldn't mess with it. Damage modify is the level of damage it goes up per level. So once you hit level 2, it'll go up by 1. So stick does 2. It would do 3. If you make this 2, it would change it to do 2 every level. This script is not something we're going to really talk about, and you might not understand any of this. But this is pretty much, in latent terms, the weapon's hitting protocol and the weapon's / like the trail and sound effect protocol. Trail is the trail for the weapon. Handle is the model. So I don't know where the stick is. It's normally over here, but you can't see it. To be able to see it, you just want to move the whole file from here to here. Now you can just drag and drop it. I used parent because it's easier for me. But then you'll be able to see and edit your model. So back to trail, if we look at it. If I change this color to a light red, it'll be light red. It uses a / texture, but I'll just make it this, because, you know, why not? We'll make it a picture. You can use textures. That's how you use pictures. White would be the best to set if you're using a colored texture. You can change the brightness of it. And the best way to show what it looks like is by enabling it. Sorry, that was a little quick. Enabling it down here in a mission, and then moving the weapon, and you'll be able to see what the trail looks like. As you can see, the stick trail is a little weird. It's not really on the top of the weapon. That can be fixed. If you open up handle, you can see attachments. And this is basically saying, this is the top of the trail, this is the bottom of the trail. So if we move this up, as you can see, it now looks a little better. Now, it's a little weird, because you'd want the trail to be like this, and then a little bigger, and there you go. You can always move these, or add more, but to add more, you'd have to recode it, and I'm not going to do that right now. But you can edit more on this. For example, the texture length is the length of the texture on it. So if I made it 4, as you can see, it only goes so far. If I was to edit the lifetime, it would edit how long it stays. So as you can see, it stays for an entire 4 seconds. So the most you'd want it to last is about 1.2, in my opinion, depending on what you're trying to do with it. Now, as you can see, it's a little weird. It still doesn't feel exactly right. To fix this, you'd want to go into transparency, and a good way to do this is by moving this dot up and this dot down. What this is that when you swing, what it should look like, I mean, this is how you make custom little things for like something like that. What transparency is, it's just the, transparency of the trail. What I opened up was pretty much a custom way of making your own. So, for example, when I swing this, it would slowly disappear because what I've done is edited it to be in such a way. Max length is the length of the trail for how long it can go. So if I made the max length 20, it'd be 20 studs. So as you can see, it only starts pulling the trail when it goes 20 studs. Instead of it was set to 0, where it would then pretty much go on until it decided to disappear. Next, we're gonna edit. You can do the hit and slash. So I'm gonna turn my audio up so you guys can hear this. We're not gonna edit that anyway, just because I don't really feel like it right now. Touch interest is just something that appears. You can delete it. It'll always come back because it's what happens when you pick up the weapon. There's really no way to fix it, and that's fine. I mean, you don't have to delete it, but you can if you want to. It doesn't do anything. So this is what we're really looking for. /R15. This is the slash if it's set to R15. This is the slash if it's set to R6. I'm going to be assuming you're using R15, but the exact same way is done for R6. So, yeah. What you're going to want to do to fix it is because it's not your trail, so it won't let you use it. You need to make your own. So to do this, you're going to want to go into plugins, and it's not going to look nearly this crowded. I have a lot of plugins, but you're going to want to look specifically for Rig Builder. This should be here. When you're here, you can choose between an R6 and an R15, and this depends on what type of game you're trying to make. If it's R6, you'll make an R6. If it's an R15, you'll make an R15 rig. I'm pre-assuming you're using an R15 game. You don't have to, and it works about the same. When you have your dummy, you're going to want to put them kind of far away, so, it's not close to spawn. I would also highly recommend going into the dummy and changing this humanoid viewer to none, so the name is not seeable from inside the spawn. After this, you're going to want to go back into plugins, and you're going to want to look for this. It's called animations. You're going to want to open it. It'll open this funky little box. This is making an animation. You're making one, and as long as you have this open and you click, it should open up this simple little thing. We're going to name this test, just dummy slash. And you'll be able to edit parts of the body for the swing. And I'll show you what that looks like. But first, you're probably going to want to edit the length to be about a little longer, just in case your swing is a little more dramatic. So as you can see, when I click a body part, I'm given the access to edit the axis of it. So if I move it up, because there's no cue before this, this is the first frame of the animation. So if you critical Z, you can reverse whatever you've done. So if I move this, I make a new frame, and this is now the animation. So if I swung, that's what would happen. We obviously want it to, swing, so. And you can copy my animation, but I would recommend making your own. But to make it simple, we'll just have the swing look like this. To make it simple. You can always make more. You can always make it more complicated. For example, if I wanted it to look a little more realistic, I could move the waist with it. Next, you're going, and that should then be about all you want to do. The hand would move the position of the weapon. So right now, imagine the weapon where that little red line is. That's what the weapon looks like. So when you swing it, it'll look pretty static. You can fix this by using this green axis and twisting this, and this will have the weapon swing in any direction this hand is twisted in. If it was like this, it would be pointing in this direction, how I'm moving my mouse. If I had it this way, it would be pointing in this direction, etc. So if you would really want to use that when the character is swinging to the side. When you're done with your animation and you're sure you have exactly what you want, you're going to want to open these three dots and set animation property to action. This will allow it to actually work. Click it again, publish to Roblox, Jesus. Change the title to whatever, change the description, change the creator. If you're making the game in a collab, you're going to want to have a group to go with it. So if you don't, what's going to end up happening is only the person who made the animation can see it in Studio. So I'd recommend making a group and then setting the creator as one of your groups. So everyone that has Studio access in the group can see the animations and make them. You're going to want to submit the animation, and you're going to click this little button. This is the ID. You can just copy it. And this opens it in normal Roblox. Close out. Go back into the weapon. Click R/R15. Delete this and paste the one you just did with critical V. You can use the Windows button and V to check your ones you have, whatever on your clipboard. As long as you put it here, you're fine. Now we're going to go into game and see what it looks like. Disclaimer, normally some animations can end up breaking the weapon. It's kind of funky, like iffy on how well it really works. Uh-oh. Oh no. The game isn't working anymore. Oh yeah, no, I did it wrong. Sorry, I guess I forgot something. I'm good at this, don't worry. Next, you're going to want to re-put the stick back in the weapons folder if you ever took it out. It needs to be in here so it can call to it. My bad, by the way. So now it should load. There you go. And this is the weapon. Oh, I forgot to unenable the trail, because if it's enabled, it'll move whenever you move. But as you can see, it now swings. Let me just quickly fix the whole trail issue, and then we'll move on to battles, because battles are the next most important, in my opinion. Or we can move on to making weapons. But once you've done this, making a weapon, a new one, should be pretty explanatory. You want to duplicate the stick, change the name to, like, I don't know, toy stick. And as long as you have it set to a store, you can go to this, and this box, as long as you're in it, it'll end up showing up. So I'll show you what that looks like in game. You'll always want to change the weapon name as well. Don't forget that. It is pretty important. We can always close this out too. What I opened here just shows me the errors in the script by clicking output. That's good to know whenever something isn't working. And yeah. So next, you're going to want to end up doing is battles, aren't you? Battles work like this. This gate is connected to this. This script is where all the information is, and it's in a module, so I can't really, show you that. This is the battle info. Don't change this unless you're, like, sure on how to change it. We're not going to do that. It's a little complicated. You're going to want to click battle, and this is the value. This value corresponds to inside lightings in this battles folder. This is where all of the information for the battle is. The music that plays in the battle. This music in the battle box is what we're going to call this, is the music you hear when you teleport to it. So this is the battle name, this is the category. This is you can disable the food, you can disable weapons, you can enable the fragment chance for a soul. You can change the gold value that it gives you. You can change the ignore unless fought, which means it won't show up until you've killed the boss. The love should be pretty obvious, what love you need to be to go in. Linked battle just means is the battle connected to another one. So to make this work, you'd have to set another battle and then put linked in it. Max players is how many players you can invite. Resets is how many resets you need. Reward weapon, you can change to your whatever weapon you want it to reward in this folder. So if I click toy stick, it'll now award toy stick. So to show this off, we're just going to change this to, I'll just say 10 damage. Next in battles is share. This just means if the awards are shared or not. This value box has to be off, and then it will give everybody the same value. If it's yes, it'll split up the stuff, and the weapons and fragments will not drop. Soul fragment is whatever soul it drops inside this folder, and XP is how much XP it gives. So to make a new one, you're going to want to know where battles are kept. You're going to want to scroll down a little to replicated, not storage. It is in server storage. Battle maps and example battle. This is the map for the battle. This is where everything in the battle is kept. So this is where you fight the enemy, and as you can see, this is what the box looks like. So obviously this is the enemy. You can go inside here, go inside the AI, and this is the information. Pretty much what's here is the stuff for the enemy. So monster name is the name that the monster's text will have above it. So if I put like you'll find that range of vision is where the enemy can see you. Range is range where the monster starts to attack you. Attack order random. If the monster has no order with attacks. Above this must be true to work, and this is the order of attacks. So if I added on a fly, which is the name of a thing in the assets, it'll do jump and then fly. Hit speed is how fast it can hit you. So if it was like set to 0.1, it could hit you every singular, 0.1 second. This is 1 second. So at 1, and so on and so forth. Damage info is a dictionary damages. So, this is the default. So this is pretty much the same thing, just depending on what you use. Attack orders. This is condition. Just how much HP is needed for it to change an attack. It can also be a function for a custom check. So pretty much if the boss goes down to 10 health, the order will change. And the hit speed will change. So if I changed this to condition equals 5, whoops. Pretty sure it needs its own ending for that. Nope, I'm not going to mess with that right now. But so on and so forth. Whatever this equals, it'll change its attacks to order whatever you have here. Death effect is when it dies, it sends out a function. So whatever this is in here, it'll do that. And game, this is the line to tell you just AI base of the enemy. So that's where all this old information used to be if you've ever used the old kit. Humanoid up here is where you can change everything about it. Again, I would change this to none so you can't see the original name. This is the jump power. This is the health it has. So if this was 100, it'd have 100 HP. Max slope, walk speed's how fast it can walk to you, etc. Nothing really here you need to change other than this stuff here is really the only important stuff. Other than jump, you might want to make it weaker because the jump is pretty high. Depends on what you're trying to do. So whatever you added in here is how it's going to look. So if I changed the root to have this, this is what it will look like. So we're going to put this back in battle maps. And this will launch the battle. So what we're going to do, I'm going to get some music. I have my own to use. So when I do this, if you have music, you're going to want to grab the asset ID. Change the music to whatever it is. And now we begin the battle. As you can see, it does this fly attack, which is a little stuck because it depends on how the fly works. You're going to want to, make sure the fly doesn't have anything hitting his AI, because that's normally why this happens, is that he cannot hit you unless you are a mile away. So, and to explain that all in layman terms, when I killed him, he fell apart because that's what it said inside the activation. There is a line of code we are going to add later that makes the fly actually do damage. That has been removed on accident, so we will re-add that in. But we're not going to do that now. We're going to go into area music. Area music is the music that plays when you go into an area. So the best way to see this, and the only way really, is to put this in workspace. And this is pretty much how it works. When you hit this gate, it'll play certain music, and when you hit this gate, it'll play music. So this is the music of the gumball dropping when we walk into here, and then this changes it back to the spawn music. To change the spawn music, though, it's a little complicated. So for now, I would just say, if you're beginning out in coding, I would just shove the box to be the whole size and wherever the spawn is, so you don't end up dying. But to change the music, you want to go into the music block, and then change the audio asset ID to something else. So for example, if I changed it to the Undertale music, because I have it, let me grab this ID and put it in here. It should now play the Undertale music when I spawn in. But remember, you always need to remember, you need to move it back to where it was or it will not work. And as you can hear, that is now what plays when I spawn in. To change it from the original place, you have to go to a certain part in the script, but I'm not going to talk about where that is right now, since the best I can do is just sit and, wait. But pretty much, you hear the music changes. Now, the whole toy knife thing, I killed that boss, so I got the toy knife. And yeah, that's how that works. So, for now, that's all I'm going to go over. It's the simplest armor and everything. It works pretty much the same as weapons. I'll do a quick showcase, because this is already like 30 minutes. So, for example, food is a little different. Food works like this. It's the same thing. As you can see, like, shop, food name, description, tool, There's the asset ID, like the picture. Decrease is more for like how much it decreases your HP. Heal is healing your HP. You can always have it heal negative HP if you don't want to decrease anything to get into math. Handles script is just brick, as nothing really important. Just change the color. This is more important. It's pretty much the code for how it works. So when it's clicked, if you increase the value by 1, etc., etc. And again, if you really know how to edit, you can edit that. But if you're new, I wouldn't really recommend it yet until you learn a little more. You would just copy paste, change all the names, change the value, and then you have a new food. The model is stored exactly the same too. There's the handle. Armor is a little more complicated. We'll get into it later, but pretty much armor doesn't have physical until you make it. But this should be obvious. Icon is actually a little different than normal, but as long as you put the ID here, that should change the icon of the armor to the ID you want. On sale, permanent, true permanent, shop, armor name, cost, description, HP bonus, icon, and to make a new one, you would just copy it, change the name, not delete it, copy it, change the name to like, and you know, it would be new and you could buy it, etc. Area unlockables is kind of broken, but pretty much if you know how you beat the boss that this value is set to, you have to beat it solo. Then it would be locked, and you would pretty much copy this example locked, and you would copy this folder. And what makes it is as long as you have the boss set and the gate is in the right place, what should end up happening is the gate will disappear once it's killed. It'll just stop existing for you, but not for everybody else. So the part can only be seen if I show it out, but if I was to take example out of this area and put it in workspace, you could see it. Don't change the surface GUI. It does it for you. You'll break it if you do. Assets is where the broken soul is, so like when you die, Despacito 2 is the band broken soul, when the soul breaks. Fly is what the enemy uses. Emotes is the emotes. So pretty much what this is just the emote you can do. You do slash and then whatever is in here and it does the emote. Not sure if it really works. Final bosses is bosses that you need to kill. So this value is set to example battle, so you have to kill example battle to reset. Rarities is something we're not really going to talk about because it's more for something that isn't activated, but if you do figure out how to do it, this is for skins. Souls, we already went over this. Skins, again, doesn't really work, but you can set them if you know how. There is a skin kit in the workshop. I recommend using it. Text is just the text that the player uses when they say something in chat. And weapons we've already gone over. That's pretty much it for the basics. I mean, like, you can change things in, like, starter GUI, but I only recommend doing that if you know how to code and how to move things without breaking the whole thing. Starter character, this is where the health script is kept. It's simple. Anti-tool to make sure, you don't own whatever is equipped. This is pretty much done because if you can drop weapons. I recommend making sure that when making weapons, if you go into weapons and go into their attack tool, can be dropped as off, because you don't want that. But yeah, that's pretty much all. I mean, nothing else really. You should need to edit until you learn. This is pretty important. So chat and commands, you can set your creator ID found in Roblox to that, and it will set your name to light blue, and it'll set your name to whatever this is down. Keep scrolling down here. Pretty much your name will be light blue, and you'll have text when you open your name to a creator of the game. And yeah. You can change the color, you can make new ones by using else if, and make sure you do, so you do else if, check permission levels, the name of whatever it's called up here. And as long as it's set that name, you'll then be able to see whoever's ID is that. And this was added in for Nikolander and Doggo if they go into your game, etc. You don't need to remove it. You probably really shouldn't, to be honest, because it says please keep. That's about it. That's all I can think of. And that's pretty much the simple basics of this. Making shops is pretty easy too. You just copy it, move it, rename it, and that's a new shop, etc. That's about it. So, if you have any questions, leave them. I will try my best to answer them. I would recommend keeping it more to simpler terms, but I can really go complicated if I need be. But yeah, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Thanks. That should have gone over everything, but if I missed anything, you can tell me, because I will be making more to this whole thing. That's all I can really think of, so thank you for watching this really long video. Bye.